In the world of Persona, a select few individuals possess the power to break free from the chains that bind them and summon what is known as a persona. Even fewer have the ability known as the wild card, allowing them to wield multiple personas at once. Welcome to the Persona Compendium, where we're going to cover the history and symbolism of some of the franchise's most notable shadows, demons, and personas. Today we're taking a look into a personal and fan favorite persona, Futaba's Necronomicon. For those unfamiliar, Necronomicon is the first persona summoned by the group navigator Futaba. During the boss fight of the Fourth Palace, she becomes tired and fed up with her own isolation and inability to escape her past trauma. With the encouragement of Joker and the Phantom Thieves, she uses this passion and anger to call forth Necronomicon, allowing the Phantom Thieves to beat the boss and save her from her own shadow. But what exactly is Necronomicon? And why was it chosen to represent Futaba in Persona 5? To answer this, we must dive into the vast and complex world of H.P. Lovecraft. Quick side note before we get into this, it is now common knowledge that in his life H.P. Lovecraft was extremely racist and problematic. While this is unfortunate, the fact of the matter remains that he is quite responsible for some of the most influential horror works of modern literature, and his stories are particularly relevant to Persona 5 and Futaba. To be clear, I don't support or share any of his views, and seek only to analyze his material as it relates to Persona, not his character as a person. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. In the world of Lovecraft, there is no shortage of monsters, horrors, and eldritch gods that all rule and simultaneously terrorize the inhabitants of their domain. While these creatures are described as unknowable to the human mind, if there's one thing that man is good at, it's learning, understanding, and recording. From this gift, a man known as Al-Hazred, or the Mad Arab, yeah, I know that name is kind of awful, transcribed his knowledge of these elder gods into one comprehensive book. This book is said to contain a plethora of text, all regarding gods and creatures like Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, and Azathoth. This text in lore would go on to be translated into various different languages until the year 1050, when Patriarch Michael had the book suppressed and burned. This event made the Necronomicon fade into obscurity, and with it, many tales and descriptions of the horrors that lurk in the cosmos. However, even the Patriarch Michael was unable to completely eradicate this book, and as such, remaining copies became highly sought after as legendary tomes of the occult. Outside of Lovecraft's detailed universe, this fictional book has become quite ubiquitous as cultural shorthand for any book holding detailed and secret knowledge of all things occult. As such, it has become an extremely popular symbol and gained lots of traction amongst bands, anime, manga, western comics, and other forms of pop culture. So it's really no surprise that we see it referenced in Persona 5. However, its very appearance begs the question, what does the Necronomicon have to do with Futaba? To explore the connection in detail, I think we would be best served to take a look at its design. Now, unlike its source material, Necronomicon in Persona 5 is not a book, but rather a small flying saucer covered in glyphs and symbols all lit up in bright green. At a glance, it seems that these symbols are mostly here for decoration, as none of them stick out with a noticeable meaning. Although it is worth noting that upon further inspection, it's clear to see that these are the same symbols found in Futaba's palace. The choice to change Necronomicon from a book to a flying saucer may actually have some significance though. Many speculate that its status as a UFO may be a fitting match to the motif of thievery, as there are countless tales of UFOs abducting and stealing things from Earth, like cows or people. Another possible reason behind the design may be to represent the alienation that Futaba feels due to her condition and social isolation. Beneath the edge of the ship, long tendrils extend, allowing Futaba entry. These tentacles are highly reminiscent of the tendrils seen in H.P. Lovecraft's famous gods like Cthulhu or Azathoth, both of which are mentioned in the Necronomicon. As for color, this persona is mostly green and black, typical colors associated with computers, coding, and even gaming and pop culture, all themes relevant to Futaba. On the inside of the ship, Futaba seems to rest in a reclined position, floating in a black void with many holographic screens and interfaces surrounding her. From this UI, she's able to provide the various support skills that she is known for. This UI is also perhaps inspired by the holographic displays and interfaces popularized in films like Iron Man. Put all together, this persona may not be a book like the one seen in Lovecraft's work, but instead it has become almost a terminal of information, through which Futaba is able to easily access all kinds of knowledge. And in true Persona fashion, that knowledge is turned into power and combat ability with its various skills and support perks that push the party forward in combat. Just like the visuals, this persona is also holding some clever references and callbacks in its moveset. Now, unlike more traditional personas, Necronomicon doesn't really have any normal moveset as Arsene or Goemon would. Seeing as it is a support persona, it only comes with passive skills that give minor bonuses for health and SP. While these bonuses will prove useful in any playthrough, a small bump to either HP or SP is hardly anything to write home about. But luckily for the player, there's a bit more to Necronomicon than its moveset alone, because the real skills are actually locked behind Futaba's confidant. As you level up your relationship with Futaba, just like any other social link, you slowly gain more abilities centered around combat in the metaverse. These skills include things like minor health recovery, buffs and debuffs mid-battle, and even a chance to save a party member from death. But that's not all. Her confidant also unlocks non-battle abilities such as Treasure Reboot, which respawns all the treasure in an area of Mementos, or Memento Scan, which has the random chance of completely mapping a floor in Mementos. These abilities are mostly defensive, passive, and non-damaging, instead putting a heavy focus on supporting the party rather than nuking the enemy. And this is a perfect fit for a persona based on a book. After all, while the Necronomicon may be a tome of arcane and horrifying knowledge, it is ultimately just a collection of information, and as such does no direct harm. This makes it quite well suited for the navigator of the group. So now that we know a bit more about Necronomicon's design and moves, what exactly are the developers trying to represent with this persona? Now, to me, Necronomicon is one of the more straightforward personas in P5R. To no one's surprise, Necronomicon is meant to reflect Futaba's mental ability, eidetic memory, and skill as a navigator. Being the tome of forgotten and forbidden knowledge, just the name alone has become cultural shorthand for anything that contains highly sought-after and accessible information. This makes perfect sense, as Futaba is able to gain access to classified info at many points throughout both Persona 5 Royale and Strikers. Her ability with a computer allows her to gather and organize this information, and it's implied that in the metaverse, her skills directly translate. Another nice touch is that instead of taking the image of an old tome or some dusty book, Necronomicon is updated to reflect Futaba's ability behind a keyboard. Combined with the clever nod to her feelings of alienation with the UFO look, this persona culminates into an excellent starting point for Futaba's persona evolution. While it may not be the most revolutionary or crazy persona in the roster, I think it represents something extremely unique and special. Given that Necronomicon is based on a fictional item rather than a character, speaks a lot about its purpose, and it seems that the developers really wanted to convey the message that as a support persona, it's meant to provide information rather than do direct battle. The small details like that, combined with the excellent character that is Futaba, make this without question one of my favorite Tier 1 personas. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you made it this far, then you probably liked what I had to say. If that's the case, be sure to leave me a like. It lets me know I'm doing a good job, it lets YouTube know I'm doing a good job, and it doesn't really cost you anything, so it's great for the both of us. Be sure to let me know in the comments what themes, characters, and personas you want me to cover next time. Also, feel free to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an upload. If you like the videos I make and you wish to see more of them, that is the best thing that you can do to help me make more content. Finally, I also have a Twitter and an Instagram if either of those is your thing. Links to both will be below. But with all that YouTube stuff out of the way, I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.